and the difference between the two. Yeah, you should be you should be puzzled. Therefore, you should have the paradox. Thank you. You've got the paradox. Right? So we've achieved the first level of meaning. Now, go back. What do we have to find? One, why anyone who is wise will go as fast as they can, as quickly as they can after Socrates. Right? And so will any man who has a worthy interest in philosophy. And what can be expected? When dead, they'll attain the greatest blessings. Right? And this is something the many do not know. 1, 2, 3. Desire, deserve, and kind. Right? Keep them together? Right, that's right. Desire, deserve, and what kind of death it is. All right, now let's see whether we can unpack the paradox. And it's a lovely one. Now all of these, if you have an interest in it, later I can give you the page citings. All of the material I'm putting up today, as I always do, comes out of the text. These are all quotes from the text. So first, he says, look here, there's a separation. Now we're taking the second, pardon me, the first one on that. This is number 2. The first is the separation. Right, of the soul from the body. He says, look here. When you are withdrawing from the pleasures of the body, that's a separation of the soul from the body. That's an ethical. Or you may just want to pull it off for a while. Right? So in any case, this is an ethical. Right? Equally well, when a person's concern for the body and everything that is attached to it, right, especially clothes and things of that nature, physical concerns. When you turn away from the bodies and the interest in the body, maintaining clothes, shoes, he mentions a great number of things like that. That's not necessarily ethical as much as it is withdrawing from all the things that one desires for the body. So that's a kind of death. That's a separation of the interest of the soul from the body. Now he shifts. He says, when there is a search for knowledge and wisdom in thought, well, he says, you think best when there is a separation from the soul from the body at such times, when you're concentrating on something and you want to do your best to try to master some issue in philosophy. All the intrusions that the body makes during such studies is an interruption. And therefore, when you really want to get into your studies, you want to be removed as much as you can from the body, and that is a kind of separation of the soul from the body. So each of these then is an interesting way to look at the idea of death. Goes back to it and he says, look here, the reason we have to separate from the soul from the body is because, you know, the things that most interest us, which is justice, beauty, and the good, these cannot be seen with the eye. They can't be seen. And therefore, to search for them in any way that depends upon the senses is very foolish. And therefore, if they are to be seen, they must not be seen. I mean, they can't be seen through the eyes, and therefore any effort to use the senses would be foolish, and therefore one must withdraw from the interest in the senses in the pursuit of justice, beauty, and the good. Thought, dianoia. So this too is a separation. This is a death. Now, there's a higher kind of thought, which is understanding. Pursuing thought itself doesn't necessarily mean that you're understanding. Understanding, or dianoia, is when you're seeking for the reasons why the noblest views you have of beauty, justice, and the good are indeed true. That's understanding. So when you can go for the reasons why, whatever you think about beauty, justice, and the good, and these are, of course, as you know, the highest terms in Greek philosophy. Beauty and experience into the nature of beauty, or beauty itself, as we've talked about. Beauty in itself, by itself, with itself, in itself, by itself. That means it's unmixed, pure. And with itself and nothing else. This experience, therefore, is an experience of the nature of ultimate reality. Because the experience is magnificently beautiful, but when one recognizes in that beauty that one has come in contact with, in fact, a very profound vision, which is beautiful, of reality. Now, that's beauty. And justice, as we've talked about it before, just to keep us together, is when everything is balanced in perfect harmony for man and the universe. If you can see that, that's justice. That means, therefore, it is an intelligible, caring universe. Or we should call it a cosmos, because anytime we talk about the universe being intelligible, we mean cosmos rather than universe. And the good, the idea of the good, of course, is beyond both in both dignity and power, and that's called the final ultimate term. Therefore, it deserves the term the good, and sometimes it's called the one. So, when one now is wanting to understand why these things can be said about beauty, about reality, about justice being the intelligible, caring cosmos, and why therefore everything fits together into harmony, if one can understand the reasons for that, and understand why the idea of the highest term is the good or the one, if you can put that reasons into that, that's dianoia, that's understanding. Right? That's dianoia. Okay? It's so different from what we mean by understanding that I don't mean to be pedantic in any way, but I do think that it's worthwhile preserving the Greek word for it. Dia is through noia nous. It's through the highest part of the mind. Well then, look here. If that's the case, then it may be that if the only way you can reach that is a final separation of the soul from the body, then you must probably then wait until you drop dead, and then at this moment perhaps you can then catch a vision of it. Or maybe it can't be acquired at all. Or it can only be acquired when you drop dead. This is his conclusion. So let's take a look what he means by dead and the condition for it now. He says, but you know what? He said, when a person dies, when he goes through this curious process of death, he says, I think when you're pure, when the mind is pure, when one's pure, the soul is pure, then he said, I think it's possible here, when you talk about being pure, that the pure shall know ourselves and shall know that which is pure. Well, what does that mean? When pure, then you will be with the pure, then you'll be with what's pure. If you are pure, purify the mind, then you will be with the pure. And if you are with the pure, then you shall know ourselves, all that is pure. And he says, hey, that's the truth.